Throughout hip-hop history, there have been many illustrious musicians that we have seen grace the mic. With their incredible talents, they have managed to create some of the most beautiful and poetic albums that many can say changed their lives, and even in some way, the world. From the forefathers of rap such as Rakim with Paid in Full, and A Tribe Called Quest with Midnight Marauders, to the rough and rugged gangster rap from NWA with Straight Outta Compton, and Notorious B.I.G.'s Ready to Die. There have even been some who have flipped the rap game on its head and changed the course of hip-hop music forever with their albums such as Kanye West's 808s and Heartbreak, Jay-Z's The Blueprint, and Lil Wayne's The Carter 3. These hip-hop legends have made unbelievable albums that everyone can undoubtedly say in their own opinion are the greatest albums these artists have ever put out. Many of the albums these artists have created are said to be the best due to the way they have shaped our minds in ways we couldn't imagine, from our parents' generation all the way up into today's generation. But there is one album hip-hop fans can say without a doubt is the greatest album of all time, and that is the 1994 classic, Illmatic, made by one of the greatest rappers of all time, Nas. But did you know that he wrote this album when he was only just 17 years old? Nas is one of the most respected and renowned rappers of all time, with a career spanning over 25 years. But it all started with his debut album, Illmatic. The album would go on to become a groundbreaking and critically acclaimed piece of work in the hip-hop genre. Nas' journey to creating Illmatic started with his early life. Nas, born Nasir bin Oludara Jones, was born in the Brooklyn borough of New York City on September 14, 1973. He was exposed to music from a young age thanks to his father, Oludara, who was a jazz and blues musician from Mississippi. He also has a brother, Jabari Fret, who raps under the name Jungle and is a member of hip-hop group Bravehearts. His father adopted the name Oludara from the Yoruba people, and Nasser is an Arabic name meaning helper and protector, while Bin means son of in Arabic.
How old is that? 20 years old.
What does Nas's name mean?
Helper and protector.
Nas grew up in the Queensbridge projects in New York City and witnessed experiencing the harsh realities of life from a young age and was surrounded by poverty and violence.
When mother moved to Queensbridge, and she was trying to divorce me then, and then she said, I'm gonna move to Queensbridge, and I'm gonna get me a job doing it, and you won't have to work that much or something like that. Could you come out and help me? I was happy because I thought she had broken up with me really for good, and I wasn't gonna see the boys like I wanted to. And I went out to Queensbridge, and there they were, and I said, go downstairs, because the mother said, don't let the boys outside, it's too dangerous out here. And I said, when she left that day, I told the boy, I said, your mother's not here, so go downstairs, get your ass kicked, because I know it's gonna happen. Go downstairs, they were like daycare age at the time. I looked out the window, watched them. As soon as they walked downstairs, a whole bunch of guys gathered around them, popped them around the head a few times. And Jungle didn't talk at all. He didn't talk until that day.
But despite his tough surroundings, he was always passionate about music. As a young child, Nas and his family relocated to the Queensbridge houses in the borough of Queens. His neighbor, Willie Ill Will Graham, influenced his interest in hip-hop by playing him records. He said, the first time I grabbed the mic was at my man Will's house.
I get just a little bit crazy, man. Yeah. You know what, I didn't get a chance to ask you, I don't know if I did ask you about Ill Will. I hear Ill Will, and I know you named your label after your man Ill Will. I heard him on records and things. Explain to everybody out here on the West Coast who this person was to you and why you keep his name going,
I got a lot of friends that, that passed away, you know what I'm saying? And it hurts every time when somebody close to you, you know how it is. But my homie, I was too young when they took him. You know what I'm saying? They took him. My brother got shot. He right there, Jungle right there. At the same time, they had both got shot, but Will didn't make it. So we was young. You know what I'm saying? So that's what. And plus, he lived in my building. He lived on the 6th floor. I lived on the 5th floor, and he had 2 turntables. So he had my back when it came to this rap stuff. Like with a lot of the kids in the neighborhood wasn't up on rap. You know what I'm saying? They was up on it, but not like my homie, man. My homie was real with it, and my homie was...
His parents were experiencing a tumultuous marriage and would divorce in 1985, which was the same year that Nas dropped out of school in the 8th grade due to him stabbing one of his classmates the previous year. He educated himself about African culture through the 5% Nation, a splinter group of the Nation of Islam, and the Nuwaubian Nation. In his early years, Nas played the trumpet and developed a passion for writing, which caused him to write his own rhymes. And by the age of 12, he had already decided that he wanted to pursue a career in music. In 1989, he began his musical career and adopted the moniker of Nasty Nad. And in 1991, at the age of 15, Nas connected with Large Professor from the neighboring Flushing, Queens, and made his debut record appearance on Live at the Barbecue off Main Source's 1991 album, Breaking Atoms. The 16-year-old's appearance was a revelatory moment in hip-hop. Rap fans were quick to declare Nas the second coming of Rakim, and his guest verse has gone down as one of the greatest of all time.
Okay, so when you guys were recording these demos, did you know what you had on your hands at that point?
Oh yeah, I always knew. Yeah,
right off the bat.
I always knew, definitely. Because I have went through so many stages of hip hop and in life to be confident enough when I knew what it was. Like, this is it. Ain't no question about that. You know, you go through enough to know, like, that's that shit. And you know, whenever I heard Nas, I'll be like, he's ill. He's gonna be big out here.
Nas followed up his appearance on Live at the Barbecue with his debut single, Halftime. Released on October 13th, 1992, the song featured thumping production from Large Pro and was featured on the Zebrahead soundtrack. His verse on the song caught the attention of many in the industry, including producer Large Professor, who would later introduce Nas to other producers like DJ Premier, Pete Rock, and Q-Tip. He even caught the attention of Columbia Records with them, saying they were impressed with his style and knew there was something special about this young artist.
Nasir Jones, who I am, you know what I'm saying? Nas is who they started calling me at a young age. It's hard to pronounce the name Nasir. From Nasir with Nas, and the Nas went Nasty Nas when people found out that I knew how to rhyme. Once they found out I knew how to rhyme, I got a deal. I did Halftime and I shot the video right out here.
These connections ultimately led to Nas being signed to Columbia Records in 1992. At the time, the label was looking to capitalize on the success of other East Coast rappers, and they believed Nas had the potential to be a star. At the age of 17, Nas started working on what would become his debut album, Illmatic. He poured his heart and soul into the project, drawing on his own experiences and the experiences of those around him.
Experience hip-hop from the most original form. From day one, as far back I can remember, all I remember is the music. That's been my inspiration.
It ain't hard to tell, I excel, then prevail. The mic is contacted, I attract clientele.
Everybody make money out here. Try to get some money, everybody getting arrested, shot at, beat up. I'm just doing my own thing.
The recording process began in 1992, with Nas working closely with several prominent producers, each of whom brought their unique sound to the project. The album's production team included Large Professor, DJ Premier, Pete Rock, Q-Tip, and LES, who all contributed to the album's distinctive sound.
And it was just instant. He was like, oh man, yeah, let's go with that. And when we had the session and we was in Battery, recorded in Battery, he brought his book in and he just started spitting that shit. He spit it in the room first for everybody. Must have been about 10 of us in there. And he spit that shit. The room was like silent and the speakers was rocking and he was just like, like spitting that shit over that shit. I was like, man, it was crazy. And I hadn't really finessed the drums yet, but when I heard that rhyme, he did it. And then after he laid it and I pumped the drums up, it was just right. It was just like one of those perfect sessions.
While the hype and acclaim was certainly real, it wasn't until almost 2 years later, on April 19th, 1994, when he was just 20 years old, that Nas would eventually finish Illmatic and release it to the world. While the album failed to make any significant commercial impact, it debuted at number 12 on the Billboard 200 chart, selling 63,000 copies in its first week. Illmatic was instantly acclaimed upon its release, and is often viewed as the greatest rap album ever made, and has had a lasting influence on the genre, solidifying Nas's status as a legendary figure in hip-hop. I realized, writing the first album, you've been writing it all your life until that point, Nas said in an interview with Songfacts. I'm sure you've heard that before. So I'd been writing it since I was 9 years old in a way. but when I narrowed it down to what would be album material, it probably started at 16 years old. I got a record deal at 18 and then finished the record at 20. Nas's writing and rapping abilities were exceptional, and he was able to create vivid and introspective narratives about life in the Queensbridge projects. The album's lyrics touch upon themes such as poverty, crime, and the challenges of growing up in an urban environment. His storytelling and wordplay showcased a level of maturity and talent not often seen in someone so young. Nas's creative talent and natural storytelling ability shone through in every track. From the hard-hitting NY State of Mind to the introspective Life's the album was a masterpiece of lyrical genius.
When I heard Nas was performing in D.C., in the nation's capital, the whole Illmatic project, it blew my mind. We all prayed that this would do well for him. I mean, all of us. You know, everybody was just fingers crossed and that we made a classic. You know, we didn't know until it just hit people. The World Is Yours, to me, is like one of those, it's like a signature song of that album. Because after I heard it, I paused the record and I just was repeating it in my head, and I was like, oh man. Started getting drum ideas, and then, you know, next thing y'all put it together, and I'm blown away by what I just did, you know what I mean? So making that sample what it is today for hip hop, and then hearing this golden voice speak, you know, over it. It's just like, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Understandable Smooth, that murderers move with the thief's theme, play me at night, they won't act right. The fiends of hip hop, they got me stuck like a crack pipe. Like,
Nas's talent and determination have made him a legend in the world of hip hop. His debut album, Illmatic, is a timeless masterpiece that continues to inspire and influence a new generation of fans. This is the story of how a 17-year-old Nas wrote one of the greatest albums of all time.